Diddy will be sued. And I say will be because nothing has been filed yet, by at least 120 people in the next 30 days. So
those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff.
The buzz surrounding Sean Diddy Combs has reached a fever pitch as rumors swirl that the music mogul could be released from prison soon. It's a twist that no one saw coming, and the internet is brimming with speculation, insider leaks, and theories about what's really happening behind closed doors. Could Diddy, one of the most influential figures in the entertainment industry, really walk free after months of shocking allegations, lawsuits, and an indictment that shook his empire to its core? Let's dive into the whispers, the alleged legal loopholes, and the explosive claims that have captivated the public.
We're monitoring another push to free Sean Diddy Combs tonight, with his legal team citing new evidence in an updated bail proposal. The music mogul agreeing to around-the-clock security and cutting out contact with basically anyone but his legal team to get out of jail ahead of his trial scheduled for May of next year for charges he allegedly coerced and abused women for years.
Word on the street is that Diddy's legal team has found a way to dismantle the FBI's case against him, or at least weaken it enough to potentially secure his release. According to insiders, it all boils down to what his lawyers are calling gross misconduct during the investigation, including a controversial raid on his jail cell. This wasn't just any raid. It allegedly involved federal agents seizing confidential materials that were supposed to be protected under attorney-client privilege. If true, this could be a massive misstep that might invalidate crucial evidence. Diddy's lawyers are reportedly arguing that the breach wasn't just a technicality, it was a deliberate act meant to sabotage his defense. And here's the kicker, they claim they have proof. The story goes that on the morning of the second day of the raid, there was a meeting involving high-level federal officials, including prosecutors from the Southern District of New York. During this meeting, it's alleged that these prosecutors specifically directed the search of Diddy's cell at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. His legal team insists that the operation wasn't about maintaining prison safety, as the authorities have claimed, but about fishing for information to bolster the case against him. In their words, this was less about justice and more about stacking the deck in the prosecution's favor. Adding fuel to the fire, Diddy's attorneys have accused investigators of listening in on his private conversations with his legal team, further claiming that this level of surveillance is not only unethical, but illegal. If these allegations hold water, it could deal a serious blow to the prosecution's case. The implications are staggering. Evidence obtained through questionable means could be thrown out, and the integrity of the entire investigation might be called into question. For Diddy, this could be the lifeline he desperately needs as he fights to clear his name.
Called this afternoon at the courthouse in Lower Manhattan, the judge ordering the prosecution to turn over its findings from a jail cell raid, Diddy's jail cell, just yesterday. What were the contents of those raids?
Well, apparently, according to the defense, their legal documents, the government's saying no. On the contrary, they're just some handwritten notes and a calendar.
But the drama doesn't stop there. Rumors are swirling that Diddy has a plan in place for the moment he's released, and it's not what anyone would expect. According to some sources, there's speculation that Diddy might attempt to flee the country if he's granted bail. It's a wild theory, but not entirely out of the realm of possibility given the stakes he's facing. The whispers about a potential escape have sparked debates online, with fans and critics alike speculating about where he might go. Some say he could retreat to a private island or a country without an extradition treaty with the US, while others believe he would simply disappear into the shadows, using his wealth and connections to live under the radar. Of course, these are just rumors, but the very idea of it has added another layer of intrigue to an already sensational story. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team appears to be pulling out all the stops to secure his release. They've reportedly filed a motion arguing that the conditions at the Metropolitan Detention Center are so dire that they amount to a violation of his rights. The facility, notorious for its overcrowding and understaffing, has been described as hell on earth by former inmates and legal experts alike. Diddy's lawyers are highlighting recent incidents of violence and neglect within the prison, including cases where inmates have suffered serious injuries or worse due to inadequate supervision. They're painting a picture of a dangerous and inhumane environment, arguing that keeping Diddy there while he awaits trial is not only unjust, but potentially life-threatening.
And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on watch.
At the same time, his legal team is working hard to reshape public perception of the man at the center of this storm. They've been emphasizing his legacy as a music icon, a philanthropist, and a self-made entrepreneur who has spent decades building an empire. In their narrative, Diddy is not the monster he's been portrayed as in court documents and media reports, but a flawed human being who has been unfairly targeted. It's a calculated move, aimed at swaying public opinion and perhaps softening the blow of the allegations against him. Of course, not everyone is buying it. Critics argue that Diddy's legal troubles are the result of his own actions and that his team's efforts to deflect blame onto the authorities are nothing more than a desperate attempt to avoid accountability. Still, the accusations of misconduct by federal agents have raised eyebrows, even among those who believe he's guilty. After all, if the government is willing to bend the rules to secure a conviction, what does that say about the fairness of the system?
I came here today just to tell the truth, so hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that.
As the debate rages on, one thing is clear. This case is far from over. Even if Diddy is released, he still faces a mountain of legal challenges, including multiple lawsuits and an upcoming trial that promises to be one of the most high-profile courtroom battles in recent memory. For now, though, all eyes are on the possibility of his release and the questions it raises about what might happen next. Will he walk out of prison only to face an even tougher fight in court? Or will he take matters into his own hands and disappear, leaving the legal system scrambling in his wake? Stay tuned, because this story is only getting more complicated. And if there's one thing we've learned from what's unfolded so far, it's that nothing about this case is predictable. Could this be the beginning of a dramatic comeback for one of music's biggest stars, or the prelude to an even bigger scandal? The truth, as they say, is stranger than fiction, and in Diddy's case, it seems to be stranger than anyone could have imagined. The controversies surrounding Sean Diddy Combs are far from over, and even the possibility of his release from prison doesn't change the fact that he's facing what could be the most intense legal battle of his life. The allegations against him have been staggering, not only because of their severity, but also because they paint a picture of a man whose glamorous public persona allegedly masked years of troubling behavior. But how did it all reach this boiling point? And what exactly is Diddy doing to fight back? Let's unpack the lawsuits, the accusations, and his defense strategy to see how the once untouchable mogul is navigating his fall from grace. Diddy's troubles began brewing long before his recent arrest. The first domino fell in November 2023 when singer and model Cassie, Diddy's former partner of over a decade, filed a lawsuit that sent shockwaves through the industry. Cassie's claims were graphic and heartbreaking, recounting years of physical and emotional mistreatment. She described a toxic relationship where she allegedly endured relentless harm, coercion, and manipulation. But what made her story even more shocking were her allegations about the so-called private events Diddy orchestrated, which, according to the lawsuit, were elaborate and disturbing in nature. Cassie claimed she was forced into these situations as part of a pattern of control and intimidation.
In her civil lawsuit, Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, assault, and at the hands of Diddy.
The lawsuit also included jaw-dropping accusations that Diddy deliberately targeted anyone who posed a threat to his control. One of the most talked about claims was that he destroyed a car belonging to rapper kid Cutie, allegedly as a warning after learning that Cutie had shown romantic interest in Cassie. The details of this claim were wild. According to Cassie, Diddy orchestrated the destruction of the car after Cutie refused to back off, sending a clear message to anyone who dared to challenge him. Although Diddy denied these allegations and maintained his innocence, the case was settled within a day of being filed, leaving many to wonder if there was more to the story than the public would ever know. But Cassie's case was only the beginning. In the weeks that followed, a wave of lawsuits from other women came crashing down on Diddy. One by one, they painted a pattern of troubling behavior that spanned decades. A college student from 1991 accused him of improper conduct, claiming he had recorded their encounter and shared it without her knowledge. Another woman who filed anonymously alleged a similar situation, describing an orchestrated plan that left her feeling powerless. Then there was Liza Gardner, who said she was taken advantage of as a teenager in the 1990s, describing incidents that were both violent and terrifying. Even as these lawsuits piled up, Diddy's team dismissed them as baseless attempts to profit from his fame. Still, the public couldn't ignore the sheer number of accusations and how similar many of the stories were.
A woman is accusing Sean Diddy Combs of and raping her when she was 16 years old in 2000.
By December 2023, the allegations took an even darker turn. A woman identified only as Jane Doe filed claims that she had been manipulated into inappropriate actions when she was underage. She described being given substances and left in such a state that she barely remembered what happened. Her account was harrowing, and it added yet another layer of complexity to the growing legal storm. Around the same time, more cases emerged, including one from an adult film star who claimed she had been invited to Diddy's lavish parties under false pretenses, only to find herself in situations she never agreed to. These lawsuits came in rapid succession, and the growing list of accusations began to overshadow Diddy's legacy as a music mogul and entrepreneur. In February 2024, the situation escalated once again. Rodney Jones Jr., a music producer who had worked with Diddy on his latest album, came forward with his own lawsuit. His claims were different from the others, describing unwanted advances and attempts to pressure him into actions he was uncomfortable with. Jones alleged that Diddy had tried to groom him, using his power and influence to push boundaries. Diddy's lawyer called these claims pure fiction, but Jones insisted that his experiences were real and that he was coming forward to expose the truth. This lawsuit showed that the accusations weren't just coming from women, they were coming from people across Diddy's professional and personal life.
Now, to the latest on the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs. This one has so many people talking. The disgraced music mogul facing federal racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking charges. Both the prosecution and defense teams are set to discuss the next phase of action following the indictment as investigators work to determine potential co-conspirators. But how exactly did we get here?
As these lawsuits mounted, Diddy's defense team began to push back hard. In May 2024, they faced yet another blow when CCTV footage from 2016 surfaced, showing an incident involving Diddy and Cassie at a Los Angeles hotel. The video, released by a major news outlet, appeared to show Diddy shoving Cassie to the ground and kicking her while she was down. The footage was grainy, but unmistakable. The public reaction was swift and intense. Diddy responded by issuing a statement saying he was disgusted with himself and that the incident represented a low point in his life. But for many, the damage was already done. The footage seemed to validate some of the allegations Cassie had made in her lawsuit, and it added fuel to the fire of public outrage. By the summer of 2024, Diddy's legal troubles had reached a tipping point. More lawsuits rolled in, including one from Crystal McKinney, a former model and actress who claimed she had been taken advantage of in a New York City recording studio. Her allegations were graphic and detailed, adding yet another voice to the growing chorus of accusers. Around the same time, a former member of one of Diddy's girl groups, Dawn Richard, filed her own lawsuit. She accused Diddy of inappropriate behavior during her time as part of Danity Kane and later Diddy Dirty Money. Her claims included verbal mistreatment, overwork, and unwanted advances, painting a picture of an artist who felt trapped and powerless under Diddy's control.
But like I said, the entertainment industry is very, very, very messed up when it comes to, the bigger you get, the more you had to do to get there. And so if you're not willing to put yourself in that position, you kind of have to put your foot down. And so I didn't.
But what really set the stage for Diddy's current predicament was the grand jury indictment in September 2024. After months of investigations, federal prosecutors laid out their case against the music mogul, charging him with a range of serious crimes. The indictment described a highly organized system where Diddy allegedly used his power and resources to manipulate, intimidate, and control those around him. The details were shocking, including accusations of coercion, bribery, and even attempts to silence witnesses with cash offers. Diddy was taken into custody shortly after the indictment was announced, and his bail was denied, leaving him to await his trial behind bars. Despite the mountain of allegations, Diddy has maintained his innocence from the start. His lawyer has described him as a family man and a philanthropist who has spent decades building an empire and giving back to his community. They argue that the lawsuits and criminal charges are part of a coordinated effort to destroy his reputation and cash in on his wealth. In a bold move, Diddy's legal team recently filed a $50 million currency defamation lawsuit against one of the witnesses in his case, Courtney Burgess, and his lawyer, Ariel Mitchell. The lawsuit accuses them of fabricating wild claims about alleged recordings involving Diddy and other high-profile figures. His lawyers argue that these falsehoods have not only damaged his reputation, but also poisoned the jury pool, making it nearly impossible for him to get a fair trial.
Diddy is now suing. So according to our friends over at Us Magazine, Diddy, who remains in the Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Center while he awaits trial. Us Weekly writes this. It says Sean Diddy Combs has filed a defamation lawsuit against one of his accusers, their attorney, and News Nation.
As Diddy's trial looms, the stakes couldn't be higher. If found guilty, he faces the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison. But his legal team is fighting back with everything they've got, challenging the evidence, questioning the motives of his accusers, and working to reshape the narrative around the man once hailed as a pioneer in the music industry. Whether or not Diddy can clear his name remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. This case has already become one of the most talked about scandals in recent memory. It's a story of power, privilege, and the lengths to which someone will go to defend their legacy. And with so many unanswered questions still hanging in the air, the world will be watching closely as the next chapter unfolds.
So yesterday, Monday, Diddy celebrated his 55th birthday, but this year was a lot different. It was no Diddy parties. It was none of that. None of that stuff. Well, happily, so I guess right now. But anyway, so this is his first birthday behind bars.
As the saga of Sean Diddy Combs continues to unfold, the questions surrounding his potential release and the legal battles ahead remain as intriguing as ever. Could Diddy's legal team really dismantle the case against him, or are these just desperate attempts to avoid accountability? And if he is released, will he take the dramatic step of fleeing the country, or will he stay and fight to clear his name? The debate is far from over, and the viewers' opinions matter more than ever. Share your thoughts in the comments below. The conversation is just getting started. Until next time, stay tuned for more updates on this ever-evolving story. Goodbye for now.